being a game designer is not just about having a great idea. It's kind of like, you know, there are people in Hollywood who want to have their movie made, and they've written a script and they think it's the best thing ever. But really, being a game designer is about being a good communicator and being a team player and someone who understands all the aspects that go into making a good game. So there's a lot more to being a game designer than just having a good idea. It requires someone to have an understanding of the different roles that are required to make the game, so the technical, artistic roles, even the production roles, to really be able to put themselves into the mindset of the player when they're playing the game. So you have to be able to imagine, what is the experience, what do I want the person to feel, you know, what should they be thinking about right now so that I can anticipate what's going to happen later. And that's a skill set that's really hard to come across. And so there are a lot of different roles in game design, but if you want to be a game designer with a capital D, like the game designer, you have to really know a whole lot about a whole lot of things. So there are a lot of different types of game designers. There isn't just one role called game designer. And it depends on what the activity is for sort of assembling the game the way they want it to work. So there are content game designers. Those are people who write scripts, write quests, world builders, and people who assemble the world. And that's very often a shared role between the artists and the world builders. But the world builders tend to do more sort of technical, this is how these objects interact with each other. Make the trap spring open kind of stuff. And then there are systems designers, and these are the people who come up with the rules. You know, when I shoot my gun and I hit somebody, how much damage does it do? You know, so they decide, well, if it's this gun, you know, and you have this power up and they've got that much armor, then this formula says you did that much damage. And that's what a systems designer does. And many times those systems designers are not only really proficient with things like Excel and Access, but also with scripting languages, because they might actually implement some of that code, depending on the game, in a scripting language and be responsible for how the game actually plays from a moment-to-moment basis. And then last, you have sort of the either creative director or lead designer, depending on the scope and size of the project and the company. And that person's responsibility is the overall vision of the game and making sure that it's well communicated at the beginning and throughout, and that it sets and reaches the standards that for the vision of the game as it was put out originally once it's shipped. Starting a game design is like any sort of creative activity, a little bit magical. For some reason, my best ideas do happen in the shower, but you didn't need to know that. But really, the beginning of a game design comes down to, what is the challenge? Because the challenge is what makes a game different from, you know, a movie. And so, well, you know, people say, well, how important is story? Well, story is important, but story doesn't make a game. A game is about challenge, right? A game is about mastery, about can I win? And so when you're thinking about what game do I want to make and how do I get it started, the first thing you need to be thinking about is, what is the core activity and the challenge? And so, you know, obviously there are a lot of now genres of games that have come out that define those challenges in broad strokes for you. But the first thing is, am I making a casual match 3 game? Am I making a 3D first-person shooter? You know, am I making a real-time strategy game? Am I making an MMO? That aspect, in defining what kind of game you're making, is probably the first step. It's the most obvious step, but it is the first step. And the next thing is, who's my audience? Who am I making this game for? Because the challenge design around a match 3 game for a 35-year-old male versus a 25-year-old female, very different. So you need to know your audience when you begin your design and really have that in mind as you think about, what kind of game am I making and what am I trying to accomplish? To become a professional game designer, you have to make games. And that really is the key to separating the idea of, hey, I want to make a game, to actually getting a job in the game industry. The first thing that's going to happen when you try to get a job in the game industry as a professional game designer isn't going to be what's on your resume, what programming language do you know, what's your favorite video game. It's going to be, what games have you made? Because right now there are so many ways and so many tools for people to make games on their own independently. There's really no excuse for people to come in who want to be game designers or programmers or anything else who haven't actually tried to do it on their own already. So that's really, for me, the fundamental behind I want to get in the game industry and be a professional is start doing it. Start doing it right now. So a QA tester is someone who wants to be a game designer but hasn't been able to get that job yet, and so they're willing to actually test the games instead. Well, that's a common story for game testers, but really, so game testing, also known as QA or quality assurance, is the act of playing the game as if you're the end user and trying to make sure that there are no bugs or problems with the game that make it unenjoyable, hard to play, or just darn broken. So actually I came out of QA. After college I started my own game company, and then when that didn't work out I got into the business to do QA to figure out how games are really made. And the great thing about being in QA is that you get exposed to all aspects of production of games. So you learn about art, you learn about code, you learn about game design, and often if you're diligent and you're good to work with and you have some amount of humility, you'll develop a rapport with the developers in the organization and get an opportunity to move up one day. So QA can be a great way to enter into the game industry. But I also know guys who have made a career out of QA. You know, they're QA directors now, QA managers, and they're an integral part of making a successful game. You can absolutely make your own game, and you should if you have any interest in being in the game industry. It's critical. And there's no excuse anymore for not making your own game. There's basically two ways of doing it. You can either get a game creation tool, of which there are many. Use your favorite search engine and search on Make a Game, and you will find tons. Things like Game Maker Pro and that kind of thing. All the way up to the professional sort of Unreal editor and that kind of thing. You can make your own game. There are student versions of many of these more expensive games that reduce the cost for people who are in college or in universities. And then there are mods. A lot of your favorite games ship with the tools to make new versions of the game or add-ons to the game. And some of those are so extensive that they don't even resemble the original game. So if you have a favorite game, you can go out there and see if there's a tool set for it and start changing it. If you want to get your game published, the reality is it depends on the kind of game. To get a game published that's a casual game, there are actually a lot of sites that publish and distribute games, independent games. Sites like Congregate.com, where if you've made a game in Flash or whatever else, you can upload it, people can use it, and they take care of all the commerce on the back end. So you can actually get some kinds of games published and made on your own. But if you've got, you know, the idea for the next, you know, Unreal 6 or whatever, the likelihood that your game is going to get made is probably slim to none. If you have a great idea for a game and you want to get it made, it can happen. It's going to take dedication, commitment, and probably a long time, especially if it's a big game. And the way to do that is to master the art, to make games, to demonstrate your idea in as many formats as possible, and to be persistent, and to be open to other people's input. The likelihood that you have the idea that it's going to get made, you know, next year may not be a reality, but the fact is making games is a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful experience, and if you pursue that dream, it's going to pay off. I mean, people in the game industry stay in the game industry for a long time because they love it, because it's great people, it's a great thing to work on, and you know, if you stay at it, then maybe one day you will actually get your idea made. But to get there, you're going to have to work hard, and you have to be passionate.